Hi, I'm Ben Collins, Vice President of Finance at SGK, and I'd like to welcome you to the Financial Update segment of our Around the World with SGK virtual event. Many of you know that SGK is part of Matthews International Corporation, based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here in the United States, which also happens to be my hometown, where I was born and raised. Growing up in Pittsburgh, I was familiar with the Matthews name, but until I joined the company, I really had no idea how diversified it was. Matthews operates three distinct businesses: SGK Brand Solutions, Industrial Technologies, and Memorialization. Not only has SGK weathered the pandemic well, but our diversified portfolio has performed really well. You may have heard our latest quarterly earnings call. As a company, we achieved over $417 million in sales in our second quarter. That's up 11% versus last year, and a new quarterly sales record for the company. We also continue to generate strong operating cash flows. In fact, we've been able to pay down our debt by $183 million over the past 12 months. These are very impressive financial metrics in any time period, but to pull them off during a global pandemic really shows the financial strength of our company. This financial strength allows us to continue investing in technologies and talent throughout all areas of our business, so we can better serve our clients by simplifying their marketing and amplifying their brands. It also makes SGK a trusted business partner, someone you can count on today, tomorrow, and into the future. Thanks to all of you for your hard work and dedication in making us who we are, a strong, financially viable company that possesses a can-do attitude. Even in the most challenging of times, look no further than our technology team, who in less than 15 days was able to turn our more than 6,000 employees worldwide into a highly connected remote workforce by keeping the engine running so we could continue servicing our clients with excellence. I hope you enjoyed today's events and find it valuable. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Welcome back to Around the World with SGK. In this session, you will be learning about how to transform your digital marketing to amplify consumer empathy in the digital world. This session, we will be joined by Ben Schaller, Senior Client Director, and Karl Berta, Vice President of Commercial within SGK Health. We will discuss the key concepts of connected packaging and how it plays a vital role in helping pharmaceutical companies increase patient adherence, communication, and engagement. Please note this is an interactive session, so please do send your questions to our presenters at any time via the Q&A box on the right-hand side of the screen. Please include your name along with your question, and we'll aim to answer these during the Q&A session following the presentation. Following the conclusion of today's presentation, don't forget to connect with our speakers via LinkedIn and email using the details provided at the end of the presentations. I'll now turn it over to you, Karl.
Thanks so much, Dorota. Again, I'm Karl Berta, and I'm responsible for new business development and client engagement. Today, we're excited to talk with you about how connected packaging, or sometimes called intelligent pack, can help pharmaceutical companies and healthcare providers communicate in new and authentic ways with patients and providers to live better and healthier lives. So here on this slide, we're getting started. We wanted to ground ourselves a little bit in the world post-2007. Why 2007? As you can see there on the left, that's when the iPhone was released. And by bringing the internet browser to a mobile device, it actually changed everything. It created new digital communication highways that has accelerated the way brands communicate with almost every human being on Earth. As mobile technology and the Internet of Things matured, we continue to see one-to-one approaches to technology and other ancillary services. You see the iWatch there, bringing personal lifestyle tracking, as well as development of customized delivered medication to your doorstep there on the far right. It's really limitless, the things that technology, personalization, and just advanced innovation is going to bring to us in the future. It's an exciting time where technology and our everyday lives are not only intersecting, but dependent on each other. Today, we live in a world of the consumer. The consumer is empowered and always on. Patient communities are becoming more invested and more proactive. Brands, including pharmaceutical companies, must make a shift from being product-led to having patient-led communications. Pharmas must find more ways to build and earn trust because social channels are influencing and driving patient behavior and preferences. While doctors remain a highly trusted source of information, consumers most often turn to the internet first for health-related information. The sharing of community data or the experience of a patient is an essential part of a brand's communication strategy and plan. Obviously, this is no epiphany. Consumers are more empowered than ever, and patients must be reached how and why and where they want to be reached. It's no longer being pushed down from the brand. The paradigm has shifted, and the patient is at the center of every communication consideration. So, pharmas must begin to reshape how they communicate with the individual, the patient, the human being. And that's what it means to build a trusting, long-lasting relationship. This new dialogue will be more personal, more direct, and more informed. To do that, pharmas must tap into the human and empathetic side of communication. What was once lab coats and overly staged sterile visuals now must become more relatable communications where the patient's desired lifestyle, situation, or condition is understood. Brands must humanize the relationship between themselves and the patient. One brand experience pharma companies can use is called connected packaging. Connected packaging uses packaging design and technology to create user experiences, connecting your consumer emotionally and physically to your brand. Marketing organizations are at a great time to leverage new packaging strategies for building communication, loyalty, and relationships with their patients. Listed here are 6 things we think that will provide unique opportunity to amplify the value of packaging produced today. As you can see here on the left, the growth of the Internet of Things, and we talked about that. If you think about just your home or your watch or all the things with just Nest or Google, the ability to have a connected experience is easier to achieve today more than ever. The advancement of AR and VR technologies, with rich content and with phones being more and more faster, AR and VR is going to play a larger role in how consumers and patients consume and experience data. Packaging is the most powerful owned medium available. Packaging will still be around. It's going to change. What might be the secondary pack may change and the primary pack may change, but there still has to be a delivery mechanism for the product. And then pack as a media creates long-term content journeys that build over time. That packaging is going to continue to go from store or from pharmacy into a consumer's home. So the ability to leverage that becomes increasingly important. And then lastly, the opportunity for unprecedented measurement of brand and product usage through the pack, beginning to understand how it's being used, how it's being recycled, what sustainability efforts are. Many, many things that are going to be tied to that packaging using data that can be driven out of new technology innovations. The illustration here shows why now is the time to embrace more advanced packaging communication tactics. It all started way back in 1994 with the QR code, way back before this chart shows, before 2000. This simple code was really the start of how something physical can activate something digital into a communication. So back in 94, QR codes were not seen as cool in the brand community. In fact, they were awkwardly disruptive. But in 2015, Snapchat brought a resurgence to the QR code and created a snap code that made the QR code fairly cool. Now you fast forward to March of 2020, where we saw an explosion of not only usage, but acceptance of the QR code due to COVID. What made all this possible and mainstream was back here in 2017 and 18 with Apple iOS 11. Where it brought the ability to scan a QR code to the camera. Whereas before, other platforms could do that, but until the Apple iPhone was able to do it, it really didn't make it mainstream because you would have to download a separate app to do that. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit to today, where 5G is going to allow the delivery of rich media to that device anywhere and everywhere, something widely sought after from pharmaceutical companies to CPGs. So digging a little bit deeper into actual connected packaging, we wanted to simplify how we viewed connected packaging within SGK. And we've broken it down into two categories. The first category we call it is active. Active is very much like we talked about with a QR code, where a patient or consumer is the one directly engaging. All actions are being originated by the patient via some sort of app. Other than QR codes, some of the other common technology solutions for active packaging are Digimarc and Blipper. Active packaging is all about the patient activating their mobile device to learn, engage, and control access, all one way. And the second type of packaging is smart packaging. Smart Pack takes the next step in using sensors, triggers, or even ink technology to automatically activate a communication. A few examples here we put on the slide to kind of demonstrate that. You'll see smart bottles here, which is a pretty interesting technology that's out there, where an insert is put inside of a bottle, and every time a pill or something is poured out of the bottle, it's actually tracked and monitored to be able to see what has happened, what action has taken place within that bottle. And then to the right there, you can see a RFID label of sorts that tracks temperature. So whether it's on, a bag of lettuce, or think of a vial. So, with COVID and some of the vaccines out there, they have temperature regulations. So the ability to apply a smart label or some sort of smart packaging to track temperature sensitivity is also an interesting innovation in the connected pack market. So I'm going to hand it over to Vince to talk about going from connected pack theory to reality and what the next step should look like. Thanks again for joining us. Vince, take it away.
Thank you very much, Karl, and thank you everyone for joining. Certainly, we see a lot of change happening today with how consumers and patients are engaging digitally to gain more information about their health and the products that help them manage their health care. From being customer-centric, it's really not an option any longer for pharma. Patients have become consumers and changed the way in which we not only look for information, but the way we consume it, and how it informs our decisions and what products and brands we choose to believe in. The pandemic has raised health to being the #1 priority. In a recent survey, over 85% of the world population cited health as their #1 concern. Pharma is heavily impacted by this shift and needs to embrace the major focus toward being customer, consumer, and patient-centric, and to positively raise brand awareness and loyalty through that process. This has been confirmed by several actions recently. We've seen pharma, including some major brands like Pfizer, reshift their science-based conversations with HCPs to empathy-based conversations with patients and consumers. Today, we're hoping to show you how Connected Pack might be a great approach to engage consumers and patients in a new way. When we take a look at the research and the data, it's certainly showing that there's an enormous projection of growth to $52 billion in 2025 for smart packaging. And the second piece of the data, of over 50% of the consumers have expressed a strong interest in the ability to learn more information, how they consume that information. So the numbers are telling us clearly that consumers are demanding this. It's really up to us as a combined group to deliver that information to them. Obviously, COVID-19 has had a big impact and is making a really big change, highlighting the challenges for pharma to fill the gap of information caused by the disruption from COVID. Patients need information, HCPs need support, and Connected Marcoms and Connected Pack provide that opportunity to be always on for both important channels. What we're really seeing here is a big transformation from the traditional product management, where the rules have changed from being a vehicle to simply deliver a product to transforming and transitioning into a full customer experience. When we talk about an experience, we're talking about a customer that is engaged with their health and their health management all the way through. We're also talking about a situation where brand loyalty is a goal and an objective of the pharmas, and certainly consumers are looking for more and more brand loyalty actions on their part. This is a great example of using connected technologies to educate patients, consumers, and HCPs, which helps align the products into your brand. And this is a great way for pharmas to start the connected pack journey. This is a great way to start the process of communicating through this digital medium. This next example is also a very interesting piece. This was done by Ferring Pharmaceuticals and was used to engage patients in providing information on how to use the product, and obviously connecting them to support networks and education as well. The success rate of this product was very high, and consumer engagement was very high as well, and noted throughout the entire campaign. Smart products are clearly a big aspect of the connected pack opportunity. They're 4 times more cost-effective than traditional digital media. But also the US healthcare and pharma industry is expected to spend just under $10 billion on digital advertising alone this year, which is an increase of 15% and is among the fastest growing segment in terms of speed and how quickly and where money is going to be spent. Evidence of this massive shift can now also be confirmed that Eli Lilly has hired a new chief digital officer from Apple Computers, showing the importance and the focus on the consumer as well as the patient. What connected pack can do? Certainly, we see a tremendous advantage over TV and other forms of media. There's a tremendous opportunity to keep these pieces of data and information more relevant and constantly on. Printed pieces can be connected to different digital endpoints, which can continue to evolve. With the identification of the originator, content can be aligned, and people can unlock very specific information through engagement-driven content with digital expression at multiple points. So a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, maybe this is an interesting new way to approach things, but it certainly is a great way to do it as more and more people are starting to look to the internet for solutions for health and healthcare. They're also looking for a more believable, credible story than what they see with television commercials that are out there today. And they're also looking for ways that connected communications can educate the consumer and patient or HCP along their journey. People can unlock very specific information through the engagement-driven content, and then they can also look at the increased ROI and increased attraction to the brand, as well as functional benefits throughout the supply chain. We would definitely recommend that to begin a connected pack experience, that we start the project off by utilizing a design thinking brief. Design thinking brief will align the audience. It'll help us understand the approach that will be needed to really target your audience into your customer and patient needs. This can also align the extension of the thinking in the campaign to solidify the relationship between the consumer and the patient and or your HCP. You could look at the channel and look at it, think of it in 2 channels, really, if you need to. You'd have one to inform and educate the HCP on the product, and the secondary one would actually be pushed from the HCPs to the patient and consumer. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and the design thinking brief will help you align the exact way to get the maximum efficiency of your campaign. The opportunities are great, but it really still requires a strategic approach. The need to incorporate design thinking and define the objectives is right from the very beginning. We don't want to emphasize, though, that it does have to really start with that design thinking brief, but it can also be a traditional marketing approach. We need to look at and have the ability to be nimble and quickly update or adjust for new information and new audiences. And the creation can be inclusive of multiple forms and connection points that will provide so much more additional value for your brand. So the lesson here really is, let's not just create a traditional marketing and Marcom package. Let's use something that's useful and can connect in new and more helpful ways. And let's reap the benefit of having this always-on relationship that's more of a companion than a product. When we look at connected pack, we really want to encourage you to think of it differently. Take design thinking forces you think about throughout the communication strategy and think differently about how creating a traditional pack can help you turn this dial, if you will, so that you're always on with your relationship and your consumers and your patients, making the communications much more valuable, more efficient, and effective, but also really building your brand and building your brand's loyalty to that consumer as you grow.
Great. Thank you both for a great session. And to everyone who's sending in their questions, please do keep them coming and we will try to answer as many in the time that we have left. I'm going to begin with our first question. And Vince, I'm going to direct this one to you.
Okay.
How can connected packaging help us build our brand awareness, consumers and patients?
Thanks, Berta. That's a great question. I think you know that when we really look at the benefit of connected pack, it's the ability to have an ongoing 360-degree, always-on conversation. A lot of times pharma has kind of a hidden brand message to most consumers, or in the past, they may have actually had somewhat of a negative brand perception. So this is an opportunity to change that to a positive. It's a way to really change that ongoing conversation and share additional things about the company and the pharma world that will engage the consumer and patients in a different way. For example, today a lot of companies are under higher levels of scrutiny by consumers wanting to know what their sustainability looks like, if they do anything around recycling programs, what they're doing with other aspects of their business. Connected Pack is a great way to start sharing more information about your company beyond product and beyond product usage. It's the opportunity to build that strong attraction to your brand and moving along the lines of really creating that brand loyalty. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I think that these are going to keep those relationships very strong moving into the future.
Perfect. Thank you. And great answer there, Vince. Karl, I'm going to come to you with this one. What can pharma learn from CPG in this space? In particular, referencing case studies that you have around how CPGs have leveraged connected pack for their brands.
That's a great question. I think just from SGK's legacy work within the CPG space and our deep understanding of CPG companies' brands and how they're looking to communicate, I think at one point it started as we said earlier in the presentation, maybe a little bit more of a novelty versus necessity to entertain. It really is starting to change into how does it equip the shopper or the consumer with more information about the quality of the food, the sourcing of the food. And so I think that definitely then ultimately translates into what pharma companies and healthcare providers are looking to communicate, which is how can they connect better with their, with the end user, the end patient, in providing relevant, real, authentic, and usable content that's going to enrich and enhance their lives. And we really saw that played out in how CPGs started to really change from entertaining to really equipping.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm actually going to ask for both of your expertise on this and your experience. One of our attendees is asking if you have experience managing primary and secondary packaging within pharmaceuticals.
Vince, you want me to take the first part of this? Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we certainly do have the experience managing both sides of this, and I think it's a great question. The opportunity really is for primary and secondary to work in concert with each other. We know that there's absolutely an opportunity for increased engagement that way. We also know that you can utilize the two different forms of packaging to really create a dual channel. So one might be, as an example, a way of how to use the product, and the other one might be more of a way to engage that patient consumer from the get-go on the brand and the other great things about the brand and what the brand is going to do for them as far as helping them manage their health, or it might be managing things like cognitive burden and other aspects of their health care that they're concerned about. So it's a great way to really have these two work hand in hand and a complementary role to each other.
I think one of the things too to add on, Vince, and thank you, is just from a recyclability of the primary packaging product, and how pharmas can use QR codes and other types of connected packaging to start to advise how what that disposition might look like. And so we've heard from the likes of some big pharmas around diabetic pens and injectors, and how they can start to really communicate differently to the patients.
Great, thank you. So we actually had a question come in about sustainability goals. So it'd be quite nice to hear both of your thoughts on this as well. Could you comment on sustainability goals as they relate to connected packaging option?
Sure, Karl, do you want me to take that first?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, we've had some great conversations recently with a very large pharma around what they think is a great asset to their organization and their sustainability goals, but they haven't had a vehicle to really communicate that. And so connected pack and connected communications is a great way to do that. I think that more and more people are looking to understand what the sustainability objectives are of companies that they're aligning with, and it helps build brand loyalty. Connected pack is a great way to start telling a story and then keep them involved in that story throughout the year and from year to year. So again, just a great vehicle beyond the actual product to engage that patient and consumer and educate them more about your brand.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we think about too is how can we reuse content that already exists today for a company for a marketing organization, because sustainability is typically one of the top objectives within an organization, and they're going to have content that exists today. And so how can we have a pack, whether it's secondary or primary, that can activate some of that content that exists and reuse the content to further communicate with the patient or customer.
Awesome, thank you both. And they've actually got another question for that one. How will we start a connected packaging campaign?
Dorota, I can take that one. It's a great question. We are very, very strong believers in utilizing a design thinking brief, and we really think it's a perfect application here. The reason we're very strong on this point is that you really need to understand who your key target audiences are. You want to understand what's going to be a trigger for them and what's most important to them. Design thinking brief will help you align that communication matrix and help you build out the right identification of the audience and the right messaging. You really want to make sure that you're addressing what's most important to them and what matters most to them. And if you can hit on those key aspects, then you're going to get a very strong result from that targeted approach in the design thinking strategy connected to your connected pack opportunity is really a smart way to go.
Okay, thank you. So we've actually got time for one last question. And this one's also for you, Vince, if you don't mind answering again.
Sure.
Do you recommend a connected pack to the HCP audience?
Yes, absolutely. We have had some great conversations recently with some large pharmas about helping them solve some problems in directing HCPs or in focusing on an HCP communication strategy is a great way to go. One specific example we had was working with GSK, where they had a new product launch. They had to educate a large group of HCPs, and they found it to be very challenging. It took quite a long time and a lot of work to do that. In retrospect, a connected communications program could have been very efficient for them in helping to educate this large group of HCPs, but could have also helped pass that information on to patients to get to the patients faster and to get to the product faster. I think that there's really a great way to think about connected going from the brand to the HCP to the consumer/patient. And I think it's really an awesome journey for the patient in the end to go that direction.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Vince. For a great answer to finish out today and to wrap up our conversation. So with that, actually bring us to the end of the event and transforming your digital marketing to amplify in a digital world. Thank you to everyone who has been sending in their questions throughout the course of the event. If you didn't get a chance to ask us, please do reach out to the SGK Health team or any of our speakers directly. The connected packaging session will be available on demand soon to share with any of your colleagues who were unable to join us today. Thank you to our SGK Health contributors for their support and to Vince and Karl for such a great event. This concludes our presentation, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
At Matthews International,
What makes us different?
¿Qué nos hace diferente?
To, co nas wyróżnia,
我们各不相同
is what makes us great.
Inspired together,
we see diversity and inclusion
çeşitliliği ve kapsayıcılığı,
Vielfalt und Inklusion
as a priority to be considered
in every aspect of our business.
Diverse in culture,
talent, and geography.
We are united.
łączymy się,
Aber vereint by our drive to create together.
strive together,
and grow together.
We are committed to building a culture where employees
of all backgrounds and genders,
identities and experiences
have a voice.
have a sense of belonging,
un senso di appartenenza,
我们忠于初心
and are encouraged to succeed.
If we build on this mission,
we will have a culture
where all people have a voice.
una voce,
una voz,
are celebrated and are encouraged
to pursue their highest aspirations.
Join us.
bize katıl.
Join us
Przyłącz się do nas.
and let's be inspired together.